we have some breaking news for you all. According to reporting by the New York Times and several other outlets at this point, Elizabeth Warren is planning to suspend her campaign. She will announce it in a call with her staff later this afternoon. Saagar, it's just remarkable to think about. In a lot of ways, Elizabeth Warren, she had a moment when she was a Senate when she looked like she might be the person who really pulled it all off.
Right.
She had positioned herself smartly on the left, but with this message of, I'll be a team player, I'll work with you, I'm not going to burn it all down the way that this crazy guy over here is, but I'm smart and I can complete my sentences, unlike this guy over here. It looked like that was going to work, and then it all kind of crumbled for her.
Wheels came off the bus for her on Medicare for All. I mean, we'll never forget it, right? I mean, she was right there, and she was saying all the right things to the left. She was saying, I'm not going to take any money from a billionaire, but I'll still do it at the DNC fundraiser. I'm for Medicare for All, but I understand, the way that politics works. There seemed to be this middle ground, which was working. I mean, for a time, we'll remember the Democratic establishment. I mean, Biden couldn't speak, so they said, okay, no, that all bets are off. Bernie is just a step too far for me. Now, Elizabeth Warren, that's somebody that I can do business with. And it was all driven by her elite love in the media. People in the media love Elizabeth Warren. They like to pretend that they're on the left without actually being on the left. And when they really say they are, what they mean is that they are intersectionally woke. And she leaned far too into that, I think, because she saw how much good earned media that she was getting.
Right.
But the problem is that the message underlying her Medicare for All message showed that she was not serious about passing health care in the first days of her administration. And because health care was the number one issue in the primary, it was devastating. It was just a blow she never recovered from.
The media wanted a women's candidate.
Yeah, right.
But the public,
I'm already seeing it. Oh, now a woman won't be president again.
The public, by and large, did not. They just wanted someone who was with them on the issues, who could beat Trump, et cetera. And so, with Bernie, you have someone who they agree with on the issues and is exciting, this new direction. With Biden, you have this restoration argument, this idea that we think is false. But anyway, this idea that he could beat Donald Trump. Warren tried to play both sides and it ended up not working out for her at all. And increasingly as the campaign went on, notably when she accused Bernie Sanders of, being a secret sexist and all of that, she increasingly leaned into her status as a woman in the race. Right. I think partly they were, out of concerns that people weren't gravitating towards her because they were worried about her electability. So they thought, well, let's have this conversation about electability outright. And ultimately, it ended up being really the sort of death knell for her campaign.
Yeah, it really did. I guess the real question, this is what you talked about today, which is Elizabeth Warren going to endorse Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden? Now, we have reporting from Alex Thompson, or nothing. And that actually basically validates Alex Thompson's reporting. He just tweeted this. Warren is dropping out today. Will alert her staff shortly. Someone with the campaign tells him, Alex Thompson of Politico, that she is contemplating not endorsing Bernie, or even endorsing Biden. So I think that, if there's a more likely scenario, it's that she sits it out.
I think that's probably the most likely thing.
The second most likely is that she does endorse Bernie. It would be such a repudiation of her entire career in order to endorse Biden. But the fact that she's leaving the door open confirms to me what I think she's going to do, which is she's probably not going to endorse, and then she's going to make sure she'll endorse Biden, if he wins the majority of the delegates or whatever, something like that, and then he's going to go to him, or she's going to go to him and use the cachet as an endorsement in order to say, you have to hire these people in the administration, give me Secretary of the Treasury, and she's going to continue playing the kind of inside game. And she's just a player in the game. That's what she said from the very beginning. I think she's going to act like
what she laid out is exactly what she did in 2016.
That's what she did with him.
Exactly what she did in 2016. And look, let's be real. In 2016, as in right now, Bernie Sanders needed some validators. He needed some people to come on board and make his thing, grounded in American political context, say, this guy's not scary, I work with him, I like him, right, we're friendly, et cetera, et cetera. She could have done that for him in 2016, and she had even maybe more of a constituency then, more of a sort of movement constituency behind her that could have made the difference. She didn't do that. And so I think for anyone to hope that she'll behave differently this time around, look, I'm hopeful, but I don't expect it,
right.
is what I would say.
Some more we can bring you from journalist Yashar Ali, who I trust very much. He says, The Times is reporting Warren doesn't plan on endorsing when she plans to speak to the press later. I'm not surprised. He's been told that if she endorses, it'll be after a serious political policy discussion and negotiation with Biden and Sanders. And so I think that once again gives away the game about the negotiation part in particular, because she can read the tea leaves. She knows the establishment is all in against Sanders. Realistically, if she were to endorse Sanders, would it be all the lift that, necessarily would put him across the finish line? And if she's going to do that, in her mind, she would burn all the potential political capital that she could get through a negotiated compromise with Biden and then actually have some influence in the administration. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm saying this is the calculus that she's going to be displaying.
Yeah.
And I think, it seems very likely that that's the way that things are going to pan out.
It's part of why I advocated for not just let's try to get Elizabeth Warren's endorsements from the Bernie team, but that they should actually offer her the slot on the ticket. Because I think that's the only inducement that could potentially bring her on board. Because, look, if Joe Biden gets first of all, Joe Biden's not going to pick her as vice president. And if he gets the nomination, if he ends up in the White House, then whoever his VP is going to be next up to bat. Elizabeth Warren, she's very energetic. She's very, she reads as younger than the, 70-year-old men in the race. But the reality is she's also a septuagenarian. She doesn't have that many more years where she could run for president.
Right.
Her only shot at this point at actually getting there would be on a joint Warren-Bernie ticket. It's a long shot. Right? And I think she has liabilities for any ticket she would be on heading into November, demonstrated by her weakness in this performance in this primary. Not even being able to win your home state of Massachusetts is a disastrous thing. But the Sanders people need her right now. They really need something to change the game, and fast, because yes, Joe Biden is very weak in terms of his political performance, but he's not going to have to do anything between now and Tuesday when people head to the polls in critical states like Washington and Michigan, where Bernie really has to make almost like a final stand at this point.
Michigan he's got to go all in. In a head-to-head matchup, we said here, if it's Biden v. Sanders, Biden probably wins from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now we're actually in that scenario. Now, Bernie overtook him a little bit in the head-to-heads with Biden I think a week ago. We don't have updated looks, but my bet is it's probably not in his favor the way that it was, just because of that consolidation.
Yeah.
And if she sits it out, I think Sanders is truly finished. Because, even if she does endorse him, I just don't see it. I don't see where how are you going to convince suburban voters to give you a chance? And especially when your young voter model is not turning out in the same way. This is really, I have to marvel at how the establishment was able to coalesce around Biden so quickly. And then basically Warren staying in just that extra day on Super Tuesday, that essentially kills Sanders with the delegate count. And now in the head-to-heads... And
the media narrative count.
It's very possible. And the media narrative count. Earned media is king. It's very possible now Joe Biden could win a majority of the delegates going into the convention.
Yeah,
and this all this convention talk is moot.
I think the convention talk is moot anyway. And Bernie has said if Biden wins a plurality, he'll drop out and back him, which I think he would do. Biden, on the other hand, I don't think he would do that. But... it does strike me, it's worth remembering how Elizabeth Warren came into politics.
Oh, yeah.
That opposition to that bad bankruptcy bill, and who was pushing it? Joe Biden, who was known as the senator from MBNA, whose coziness with the credit card industry is legendary. She wrote about him, you can't call yourself an ally to women in the morning, then sell them out in the evening. Very critical. He is antithetical to everything that she has said that she believes in, and he represents everything that she has said that she abhors about the political system.
But so did Hillary.
And so did Hillary. And she'd been critical of Hillary in the exact same way, and in fact, the exact same bill, although Biden was almost more sort of tied up in that whole thing.
Right.
He's backed by, you're talking about Joe Biden, a guy backed by Michael Bloomberg now. So if Warren decides to sit it out, or especially if she decides to actually back Joe Biden, I can tell you, progressives will never forgive her for that. She will then just be another senator, I think you could expect potentially a primary challenge. So this is a real fork in the road for her. She's been trying to straddle the fence between the establishment and the anti-establishment. Now she's got to once and for all choose, and no one's going to forget that
We'll
choice.
see what she chooses. I'm not, I think she'll take the craven choice, which I know everybody loves whenever I use that here. Look, we got to remember who this person is. And I lay this out. You cannot trust what she says, because that was her brand whenever it became. But there has been an ethos of dishonesty that has pervaded her professional and political career from the very beginning. And I'm talking about the DNA story, because that's what it was from, she used this fake heritage in order to advance her political career and advance her early career at Harvard University. And then, I'm looking again, I forgot about this registration card when she registered as American Indian in the State Bar of Texas in the 1980s. She never had a coherent answer for why she faked her heritage and traded off of this other than to appear novelty. She, again, we never got the full story on this, but it's possible that she lied about being fired for being pregnant in order to stir up sympathy at a rally. She's done so many of these things at so many different times that she's a fundamentally untrustworthy person. And that's how I've always looked at it. I've always seen her as a wolf in sheep's clothing, because I looked at her and I said, this is the person who leans so far into all this intersectional race woke language, the gender pronouns and all that in her Twitter bio. She was the first to push decriminalizing illegal border crossings and all this. And I said, this person isn't somebody who is like Bernie and just wants to pass
to
Medicare
actually
for
make
all.
change, yeah.
And that came out when her plan came out, right? That's how we knew. We said, with that plan, she's not actually serious. This is a BS financing mechanism. Hers is a presidency where she's going to get there on day one and just start issuing all these executive orders on culture war issues with the pink scarf that'll be trailing in the way. At least I don't have to live to see that, thank God.
Well, and you wonder for organizations, for progressive organizations like the Working Families Party, that backed her, thinking that she would be a progressive champion. If she turns around and either stays out or endorses Biden, you have to wonder about how those organizations are going to feel about the choice that they made. And look, I think you're right. I think it's very unlikely that she actually throws in with her values, looking at the way that the political winds are blowing. But I think we'll find out soon.
Find out soon, and we'll bring it all to you on Rising tomorrow. We'll have more
see you then.
After this.